I don't know what happened. This I'm very sorry. The stream just went dead on me. I went live and started the whole show, and then everything just kind of disappeared and went dead on me on StreamYard. So I apologize. I've been sitting here talking for 15 minutes, not realizing that I went live and then it shut off. So welcome again to the Legends of Mile High podcast. I'm Thomas Hall. I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know if these comments that I had on here actually got read while I was live. So I'm going to end up going back and reading some of them. We're going to talk about the Chargers. Sorry, it's been like I've been talking for at least 10, 15 minutes before I realized that it actually stopped being live. We got all the streams hooked in now. Everything seems to be going. And I'm going to get back on Facebook, see if there's any Facebook comments. But it was very strange, a very strange occurrence here. And I apologize. This is what happens, when it's just me by myself, no one back in the background saying, "Hey, you got a problem here, Tom. Why don't you do something about it?" So for all you listeners out there, I'm sorry for that happening. We're going to get back into talking about the Chargers, and I hope it's not redundant, because it probably will seem redundant because I'm going to talk about the same things because I don't know what the heck happened, which is it's a shame. I'm sorry, but here we go. So let's get back into talking about the Chargers. Let me make sure we got Twitter going and that we have everything else set up here real quick. So I apologize for the this weird happening. Here we go. Let me just make sure I got Twitter going, and it looks like we do. So that's good. All right, Twitter's going. We got Facebook going, I think. Maybe. What a weird thing to have happen. I apologize for that. Yep. Okay, we're back on. All right, good. All right, so let's talk about the Chargers, right? Let's talk about it's again. The Chargers game means more than playoff positioning to me. And I'm going to say this again. Maybe you heard it when it first went live, but to me, this will show resiliency for the Denver Broncos. They had a 5-game win streak. They faced some adversity. They lost a game when they played terrible at Houston. And if they can come back and win against the Chargers, that means that they have taken a step, in my mind, to being a more relevant team, right? And I'm not saying that the Chargers are a great team or anything like that. It's going to be a massive win, like this huge upset or anything like that. What I'm saying is this Broncos team will show that they actually have a different mentality, a different culture, because we saw that winning mentality in that 5-game win streak. How will they respond after losing a close one where they completely they just completely lost it for themselves? So there are too many mistakes, too many mental mistakes. The Singleton issue, it was just, it was bad. And will Russell Wilson bounce back? He had a terrible game. He really had a terrible game. He a couple nice passes. That Cortland Sutton deep pass for that touchdown was beautiful, but let's see how they respond. Let's see how Sean Payton turns them, gets them turned around. I know a lot of Broncos country, we're at odds with each other, about Russell Wilson and what should happen to this team. Should they, are they just screwing themselves out of a high draft pick because they're getting some wins and they're not going to be there. But I'm going to tell you, this team has a chance for the playoffs for sure. If they win on Saturday or on Sunday, they can bring that win home. They're right smack dab in the playoff race, because the Steelers lost last night. They may not win another game really from their performance last night and the last couple weeks. They could be out of the playoffs, pretty quickly. So it's really the Colts, the Texans, and the Broncos are really in the mix. The Broncos own the tiebreaker against the Browns. So, even if that team ties with the Broncos are in. So, and I think they've got their problems with, they're trying to figure out their quarterback situation. So, there's a few teams lurking, and I think there's a couple spots really up for grabs. When at first it didn't look like it, with the Steelers being like 6-3, and now they're 7-6. The Browns looked formidable, but they've got their issues. I think it's a prime time to do it, but the Broncos have to prove that they belong, and that starts this Sunday. All right, I'm going to go back into some of these comments, and I'm sorry again about this live stream just shutting off on me. Never had that happen before. So David Youngkin's coming in saying, "Morning, Thomas. It is time for this offense to shine. It is time to show the fans that the 5-game win streak was not just a fluke. Broncos 27, Chargers 17." Thanks for coming in, David. Thanks for being here early, and sorry about the the issues with the stream. We got Kevin Gray's coming in. "Morning, Thomas. The other day they were talking about pure pocket passers. Craig Morton was one. Too bad he was older when we got him." Yeah, I hope that we're not going to talk about the same thing. Thanks for coming in. I sat here and talked about Craig Morton for a couple minutes earlier, and I don't know if the stream was still on or not. So Craig Morton showed them how to get to the playoffs. Basically, he got them there, and that was the rest is history. The Broncos were playoff contenders almost every year after that. So you got to salute Craig Morton for doing that. Just like Charlie Johnson showed them how to win. Right, came in and got them their first winning season and really changed the culture. So these quarterbacks came in and helped them kind of change their mentality and their winning attitude, and the rest is history. And then of course the Broncos went on to be one of the winningest teams for a very long time in professional sports. And hopefully we can see that team get back there. Dominic Martin's coming in saying, "Hey, Tom, mile high salute to my Broncos family. Currently at work, so I'll watch later. Just stopping by to say, buck the Chargers and go Broncos. Mile high huddle for life. Denver Broncos for life." Yeah, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties. David, yeah, I'm telling you, I was late because I thought the stream started and I was talking away and looked like everything was rolling. I brought all the streams in, everything was fine, and then it just wasn't there. So yeah, sorry about that. I was talking for a good 15 minutes before I realized it. Sorry about that. Lawrence Rivera's coming in saying, "What's up, Thomas? Not much. I am hoping for a Broncos win." I know that there's Broncos out there that were hoping for this team to change their fortunes with a high round draft choice quarterback who the team can grow with, but that's not going to happen now. I really want the Broncos family, so to speak. I mean, we're all this tribe that loves the Broncos, and we want to see them to win. Let's embrace this. See what happens. See if the Broncos get behind them, get them to the playoffs, and you never know. So that's what's up with me. I'm hoping that we can put aside what we really wanted and just enjoy what's happening. Brookland official music. Sorry about that. Everything seems to be working now. Thank you for that. So strange. Again, it's hard when you're here by yourself to notice things that are happening like that. So again, I apologize. And Gabe Rock's coming in. "Our AFC record could hurt us." It's absolutely true. You are 100% correct. It could hurt the Broncos for their playoff seeding. But think about this. They have the head-to-head against the Browns. They have the head-to-head win against the Buffalo Bills, who probably are going to be in the mix, right? They're right there. Cincinnati has a worse AFC record, conference record than the Broncos. So the Broncos, if they can take care of business, they're going to get ahead. So it's basically, the problem is, can they leapfrog the Browns and the Steelers? And if they can do that, you're probably in the playoffs as the 7th seed, even with their conference record. I don't think they're going to challenge for the division title. It would have to be a pretty big meltdown for the Chiefs to do that. But I mean, they're still in the mix for that as well. But yeah, I think if they can take care of business against the Chargers, and this Sunday they're back in the mix. But yeah, you're right. The only loss that they can incur really and ensure that they get into the playoffs is with the Lions. So it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a nail biter. But if the Broncos keep winning, I think they can get right back in there. Pearl Heater, good morning. Hi, saying hi all. Thanks for being here, Pearl Heater. And sorry about the technical difficulties. And David Youngkin's coming in. How are you feeling after COVID? I'm feeling good. It's all better now. I'm still a little tired, but otherwise, yeah, I'm feeling good. So thank you for that. All right. And we got Bronco Land official music coming back in saying, I live in San Diego. I need a Broncos win for bragging rights. It's been a couple years since we beat them in LA. Yeah, it's really the Broncos haven't won in SoFi Stadium. That's Luke Patterson, my co-host on Mile High Insiders, talked about that. So they need to buck that trend first and foremost. They need to get a win in in that stadium, and it can happen this weekend. It really can. The Broncos have to show that they belong, right? They can't come out and have another terrible game. They can't come out and make those mental mistakes like they did against Houston. They have to show that they belong. And if they do that, people who were doubting this team should change their attitude towards them. It shows something. It'll show something to me if they go out there and win. Now, if the team that beat the Browns shows up, they're going to smoke the Chargers. You're going to have plenty of bragging rights going into work and walking around with your Broncos gear on. I firmly believe that. So Broncos team, if they don't kill themselves, they don't hurt themselves with dumb penalties and poor mistakes, they can really lay it on the Chargers. And I'm not saying the Chargers are a bad team. They're not a great team. They've got their issues. They've got their head coaches throwing issues out there with talking about how Austin Eckler is probably not going to get as many carries anymore. A guy who's been a playmaker for them for quite a while. There's some turmoil going on. So it's a bit strange, and they're desperate. Don't get me wrong; they're going to be a desperate team. They need to get back in this thing, and they're going to go out there and try and win. But I just, if the Broncos can play like they played against the Browns, the Chargers can't match up with them. And it's weird to say that because the Broncos have been a bad team for a long time, but the way they handled business against the Browns, that's a good defense. I think they can handle business against the San Diego Chargers. All right. Now, I just want to say, make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL. Part of your game day. Football and pizza kind of go together like peanut butter jelly to me. I mean, if you have a party, you want to sit down, watch the game, you don't want to cook, just order a pizza. And you can order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day on Sunday. So get ready for some fun, some football and fun. And you can choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick your own toppings that you crave. Either way, you win. And I mean, I've said this many times. I love Meat Lovers Pizza, but anything you want, just pick it. It's wonderful. And speaking of winning, everyone's scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game. All right. We've got Joey LaGuardia. Thank you for coming in with the 2 slices of pizza. Perfect. Thank you very much. That's awesome. And we got Lawrence Rivera. Hear me out, everyone. I don't think the Broncos can play in the heat. Look at the Miami game where they had the field on their side. That's an interesting piece of information. I'll say it's not going to be hot in SoFi Stadium. It's a climate-controlled stadium. I think for some reason, they have a little trouble on turf. And from my perspective, it's because their defense needs to get faster. They don't have a really fast defense. They've got an okay defense. I'm not knocking them, but they don't have a lot of speed. Especially at the linebacker position, the defensive line doesn't have a lot of speed, and you get this offense on turf. It seems like they may be more of a step behind. So I don't know about the Heat. I don't think the Heat's going to be too much of a problem down there. And maybe it is in Miami, right? I mean, they typically don't play great down in Miami, but in a climate controlled stadium, I don't know if the Heat's the problem. Turf very well may be. So thanks, Lawrence. Appreciate that comment. But we'll see. Let's keep an eye on that. Hopefully that isn't the case. I hope they can go down there and whip up on them. Quentin Caldwell's coming in saying good morning to everyone. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And we got Keith Brugman with some more support for our Little Caesars ad. So thank you so much. It's nice to have some sponsors. And Little Caesars is great. Been around for a long time. I remember eating Little Caesars when I was a kid. So it's good. David Youngkin's coming in saying run first. And that's an interesting comment because, if you look at on paper, the Chargers, is, it's their pass defense isn't very good. So it would indicate that they should just open up the passing game. And I think they should. They shouldn't let the Houston game, change their mentality. They need to open up that passing game. But you're absolutely right. The Broncos can run against this team, and they need to. And I think they should, really go out there and pound the rock. So the Chargers are susceptible to the run as well. And I think going right behind big old Ben Powers. Usually it's behind Quinn Miners, but I think if they run right behind Ben Powers this time, they're going to get some good yardage. So thank you for that comment. Clayton Huron's coming in, letting everyone know to smash that like button and share. So thank you for that advice. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've got, I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties again. I'm going to have to stop apologizing for that. But again, it's one of those things where here by myself, it's kind of hard to make sure everything's running perfectly smooth. And Clayton's back to our ground and pound game and Russ using his legs. Yeah, I think he probably will because he does it every game. He has to use his legs a little bit. But I'll tell you, man, I think Russ is going to be able to do some damage in the passing game. I thought he was going to be able to do it in the Houston game, and that first drop from Sutton just kind of set the tone for, just a rough outing all around. And, I thought that was a prime game for him to really come alive. And I think this might be the one where he does as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, there's a comment in here that I want to get to, but I need to look something up first because I don't know who we're talking about here. So just give me 1 second. I'm getting the roster up here. And it's this comment here. Where is number 40 and how come he hasn't played? I'm assuming that you're talking about the Broncos here and talking about Justin Strnad. Is that who you're referring to? Because that's who I thought you number 40 was. I think he's played on special teams plenty, but if you've watched him play as a linebacker in the Broncos defense, he just doesn't have the instincts, the read and react ability to be a solid linebacker in the league. From what I saw, I watched him play, some of those games. Just doesn't have it as a linebacker, but heck of a special teams player. And he's been out there on special teams. He's played a lot, so he's very valuable. And the Broncos special teams, amazingly, is one of the better units in the league. So that's awesome. But yeah, I don't really want to see him out there on defense. They're starting to use Drew Sanders a little bit more. He's kind of been popping around in the edge group. I think, he's got some future in this league. The Broncos just have to get faster. And the problem, even if Strnad is athletic, he's a little bit behind because he just doesn't react. It doesn't have the instincts to get to the hole quick enough. And Josie Jewell's slow, in 40 speed, but he has that ability to use his instincts to get in position more times than not. So yeah, he's out there. I don't think you'll see him on defense. I just don't think you will. He's just not that, not that type of player. He's a special teams ace, and that's where he should play. And that is admirable. That's a great place for him. And he's helped this unit become much better. Jeremy Sean's coming in saying, Thomas, sorry I'm late, but glad I could make the show. Well, don't worry, Jeremy, because I had technical difficulties and I was talking on here. I went live and then it shut off on me. And the next thing you know, I was talking for 15 minutes, not knowing I wasn't live. So it's one of those things where technical difficulties. So I'm glad you're here, and throw some comments in there and we'll get to them. And it says Jeremy's coming back in right away. Getting a win after a loss ended a winning streak is very key for the psyche of a team. Bad games happen, but it's important to prove that they are not the norm. Exactly what I've been talking about, Jeremy. Thank you for coming. Man, I'm continuing to have technical difficulties. Now my mic shut off. Something is going on this morning with StreamYard, I think. I don't know what it is, but man, I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you can. But going back to that, it's not just a psyche. It's going to show, hopefully it'll show Broncos fans that this team really is legitimate, right?
They had a rough game against Houston, coming back and getting a win, even against a team that's not great. It's it's gonna be beneficial all around. So let's all hope for a win. Tyler Brooks, thank you for telling me that you can hear me. Appreciate it. Yeah, you got Gremlins, Brooklyn officially. Thank you for that. It's true. It's like so weird this morning. Like everything's going wrong, but we're still doing it. So I'm still here talking, and let's hope that that nothing else goes wrong the rest of the show. And we're going to go a little bit later than normal because we missed 15 minutes. Pearl Heater coming in saying this will be Josie Jewell's last year. Absolutely, it will be. I mean, I doubt they're going to bring him back unless he decides to come back cheap. But really, I mean, I love Josie Jewell. I love his game. You know, I'm a throwback old school linebacker, so Josie Jewell kind of fits that mold. But they really do have to get faster and better at that position, in the linebacker position. Drew Sanders may take over that role. I know he's playing with the edge group a little bit more now, but maybe he'll slide back in there. Drew Sanders to me is fast and athletic, and I think he could be a game changer, but he has that struggles with that read and react ability from what I saw at the linebacker position. I think that's why they moved him to get him onto the edge. They're going to have to draft a linebacker. They're probably going to have to draft 2 linebackers because I don't think Singleton is going to be in their future much longer either. I know he'll probably be back next year for sure because his contract and he's playing okay, as far as tackling, but they need to change up that entire group from my perspective. And I think by 2025 you're going to see completely new starting linebackers for the Broncos, and hopefully they can get some speed in there. I don't want them to go out and just. I don't think 40 time is a great indicator of how a linebacker is going to be. But if it's a linebacker that hits all the other marks and he's fast, that's perfect. Get somebody that can up that speed a little bit. But thanks, Pearl, for coming in. And Tyler Brooks saying, "Hi, Tom. Hope you have a great Friday, man. I think Sean will get this team corrected fast." I believe you're right, because I think, I had my issues with hiring Sean Payton, but once they hired him, I embraced it, and he's changed this team. This team went from a team full of players who have only known losing pretty much to a team who just won on a 5-game win streak after being 1-5 and being completely embarrassed, historically embarrassed in Miami, to come back and win 5 games. That's huge. And I know that people think that there's a portion of Broncos country that wish they hadn't had that 5-game win streak, get a high draft pick. That doesn't always solve your issues. And the first and foremost is changing the culture of this team. There's still going to be, you can't completely gut this team. There's going to be players that stick around, even if they even if they don't make the playoffs, there's still going to be players here. They need to change that culture first before they can do anything. And that's what he's doing. And we'll see how well he performs at that particular job on Sunday. If the Broncos can come out, play mistake-free football, go out there and bring back a victory, then folks should really be firmly on the bandwagon, in my opinion. They should firmly be on the Broncos for the playoffs bandwagon. Jeremy, thank you. Bad games happen, bad streams happen. Yeah, I was having a lot of technical difficulties from, early on. My mic wasn't working. It was strange, and everything's been perfect, seems like, for a long time. And now all of a sudden, here it is. And then Lawrence is coming in with some nice thoughts, saying, "I hope everyone has a good weekend. Full week almost done at the new job, and I'm finally happy. Hopefully you guys can feel the same." Yeah, it's true. Like, I'm going to say it again. There's a portion of Broncos country that they want this team to be miserable because they embrace this, we've got to go out and get a cost-controlled rookie quarterback, and that's the only way we're going to save this team. And that's one line of thought. But now that that's passed, now that You've seen that this Broncos team's not going to get the number 1 draft choice. They're probably going to be, even if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to be picking 18th, 19th, somewhere in there. They're not going to get that top quarterback. You got to embrace what's happening now, right? Be happy with what's happening now, because there's more than one way to have a team that can go to the Super Bowl. And I wrote an article. It should be out today or tomorrow that talks about how these teams have gone to the Super Bowl. Some have done it with a cost-controlled quarterback, but the same number of teams have gone to the Super Bowl with a free agent or a trade, and they've actually won more Super Bowl in that mix. Kansas City is really the prime example of going and getting a first-round quarterback who was on a cost-controlled contract that actually got to the Super Bowl multiple times. Now, I know the Eagles look like they can do it. That's a second-round guy. Thanks, Lawrence. Let's embrace this. Let's have some fun. Let's reunite as Broncos country and go out there and get some more wins and be happy about it. Keith Brugman's coming in. Thomas, you can trade, parentheses, steal any non-QB from an AFC West opponent, sending them our top player at the same position. Would you trade and take? That's an interesting question, right? Because the Broncos have some good players, but nothing great. So, if I were to trade anyone in the AFC West, and I hate to say it because I love Cortland Sutton, right? I really do. He's in that spot right now where he's kind of like that. Buddy Ryan talking about Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns. He's kind of in that quasi spot where not quite as good as Chris Carter, but he's catching a lot of touchdowns, but he's not a game changer. I would trade for Keenan Allen if I could, just get because Keenan Allen's a difference maker in the wide receiver group from my perspective, if he can stay healthy, right? So I would make that trade because the Broncos need a difference maker in the passing game right now. They've got solid players. Don't get me wrong. I don't. Judy's a good player if he can get involved. I think Mims has got a great future. I think that Sutton is a good player, but none of them are difference makers, and that's what they need. And so I would probably make that play. But then you also have to look at on the defensive side. If you could go get a Chris Jones and you could trade Zach Allen for Chris Jones straight up, that's a great trade. So that's where you go. And Jeremy Shaw even says Chris Jones. So go out and get Chris Jones. But I don't mind. I think the defensive makeup is pretty good. They need that difference maker in the passing game to really kind of elevate that passing game even more. But falling sloth. Keenan Allen's made him entirely of glass except his hands, which are bricks. I don't know about that, man. He does get injured a lot, but he's got 102 receptions already this year. And that's far more than anybody else on that. The next closest is Austin Eckler with like 31, I think, or something like that. So it's absolutely ridiculous. He's the only playmaker in there. And that's why Patrick Surtain really needs to shut him down. He can catch the ball. Keenan Allen can catch the ball. He's a playmaker. And, you look at his track record. If he stays healthy, he's one of the top receivers each year. Close to the top. But Jeremy Shunt said, I'd rather have Devontae Adams over Keenan Allen. Yeah, there's always a lot of good options. Devontae Adams would be a good choice if his head's in the game. Like, he seems like he doesn't care anymore. So, Keenan Allen's still out there, even though the charges have been terrible and there's turmoil, he's still out there playing his butt off. So, it's a preference thing, but, each his own. All right, back to the comments here. Just double checking, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Well, again, I'm going to apologize for the last time about the technical difficulties, and I really am sorry about that. And the bad thing was I had this nice opening monologue going, and ended up nobody heard it. So, hopefully this won't happen again. We've got a new name in here, Brian Stowell. So I have not seen you on Legends of Mile High. If you have been here, sorry I missed it. It says Coach Payton has done a good job. We know this team is in good hands. Yeah, Brian, thanks for that comment. I think you're right. I think, Sean Payton has his issues. Don't get me wrong. I have, well, I guess I have my issues with Sean Payton, um, but he's changed the team, and we're going to find out more about this team on Sunday. We're going to find out more about what Sean Payton uh, can do for this team because, you know, I was really, I had a what I would say a little bit of a down attitude on him after the Houston game because I didn't think he had the team prepared to play. Now, players go out there, they have to make the plays, they have to go out there and not make the dumb mistakes, but it's also the head coach's responsibility to make sure that they know not to make those dumb mistakes, right? And we're going to find out a little bit more about Sean Payton, a little bit more about this team. And then when they go into Detroit, we're going to find out if this team is really a contender or a pretender, regardless of whether they get in the playoffs. If they can go into Detroit, come away with a win, this team is going to start scaring some people coming up to the playoffs. That's my thought on this whole situation. So we're going to learn a lot more this weekend. And that's why I keep saying this Chargers game on paper, yeah, playoff implications, this is huge, but I think it means a lot more than just playoff implications. It's going to tell us a lot about this team, whether or not this team is has that culture of winning or not. Keith Brugman, we appreciate the podcast regardless of IT issues. You rock, Thomas. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And then we're going to go back to Lawrence. All I got to say is a lot of fans wrote off this season, and now back, of course, we'll hear the old hate. Yeah, it's true. I mean, and that's human nature, right? I mean, I think you want something to happen, and then it's hard to let go. So if your mindset is this Broncos team should tank and get a high draft choice, it's hard to let that go. But once that's gone, you do have to let it go, and you've got to really get rid of that negativity and be positive about the season, because again, like I said this early on, and obviously no one heard it, but this is only the second time that this team in December has a winning record since 2016. Only the second time. This in 2021 they were there, but it didn't feel like that team was challenging for the playoffs. But it kind of feels like this team could, right? Again, they have to go out and take care of business. But this is the first time in a long time that Broncos country has felt this feeling, and it's nice. Let's embrace it, because if they get in the playoffs, you never know what happens, right? And I've been saying this for a long time. You're seeing teams getting injured, and this Broncos team is healthy, and that is a huge advantage. Teams are losing their quarterbacks, their starting quarterbacks in the AFC. That is a huge advantage to the Broncos. So if they're healthy going into the playoffs, now they probably can't compete with some of these great teams, but if they're healthy and they're not, the other teams aren't, sure they can. They can make some noise. So let's embrace it. Let's really go out there and see, be happy about this win streak, and see if they can start another one. Dan Wilkins coming in. Yeah, the Denver Broncos can't beat the LA Chargers in LA, nor can they even beat Las Vegas. Yeah, playoffs. Yeah, okay. Well, Dan, this is what I'm talking about. Let's be positive. Let's be positive. Let's go out there and hope that they can do it, and I think they will. So let's hope for the best. Tyler Brooks coming in. Tom, New England looked like a different team last night as well, so that may be a trap game to Denver. Yeah, you can't ever write off New England, even though they're terrible. But I also think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a bad team. I think they had some luck. They got some wins, but the Steelers now, especially with losing their starting quarterback, they're not a good team. They're actually, their record is not indicative of what kind of team they are. And I think they might end up with a losing record for the first time in a long time. And I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach, and he just doesn't have the talent, and now they're kind of in turmoil. So I think New England went out there and won that game, which is good. But I think the Broncos can handle business with the New England Patriots if, like you said, if they don't go out there and go, oh, well, this is an easy game. All right. And then I'm going to grab a couple more comments and then we're going to end the show. Brooklyn Official Music says, if we can beat the Chiefs, we can beat anyone. We can't win throwing 3 interceptions, drop passes, and inconsistent run defense. We need to play like we played against the Chiefs and the Browns. Exactly. Brooklyn, thank you for that. Like I said earlier, if the team that beat the Browns shows up the rest of the season, they can win out. That was an impressive win. And I know the score wasn't huge, and I know that it didn't, there was some issues, but they went out and took it to a really good Browns defense. Now, they had some injuries. Denzel Ward wasn't out there and whatnot, and then they also did the same thing to the Chiefs. And again, the score didn't look huge, but that was another. The Chiefs defense was playing lights out at that time, and the Broncos went out and took it to them. So you're right. Absolutely right. It depends on which Broncos team shows up. And that's why I keep talking about we'll find out a lot more if this team wins on Sunday. We're going to find out a lot more about this mental makeup of this team. And there's a lot of talk about Mike Tomlin, firing him, not firing him. Look, I'll tell you this. Mike Tomlin is a heck of a good football coach. Now, maybe it is time to move on from Mike Tomlin, and there's always that time. There's always that time, right? These legendary coaches they end up, getting fired or going into retirement when their game is up, and maybe it's time for the Steelers to move on from Mike Tomlin. But man, he's done more with a team that didn't have talent than a lot of other coaches could. So he's a good coach, and I think he'll be picked up right away if he still wants to coach. I think someone will hire him in a heartbeat. So he's and the whole Antonio Brown thing, right? How he handled that, because we didn't know about Antonio Brown as much until he got away from the Steelers, and then it was like a nightmare for teams. So how he was able to handle that, I don't know. And maybe Antonio Brown just got worse as his career started to keep moving along. But man, he handled that situation a lot better than a lot of coaches can. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, but I think they probably may. It's a possibility that they fire him if the team just kind of doesn't win another game. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good morning, Thomas. The Legends mile high. Go Broncos. Thanks for being here, Michael. Really appreciate it. And you missed out on the technical difficulties. So there's that. So thanks for being here. Appreciate the support as always. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. Thanks for putting up with the technical difficulties. Sorry for being late, even though I thought I was right on time like usual. So thank you for that. And again, let's Broncos fans, let's unite in the moment right now, the moment that we actually can watch the Denver Broncos playing meaningful football in December for the first time in a long time. Let's get behind them. Hopefully can make that push for the playoffs. And then you never know. You never know what happens after that. They could get hot. So we'll see. But thank you very much. Have a great day, Broncos fans.